Hi everyone. So about a month ago I went to Iceland, and ever since then I've been getting a bunch of questions, messages about what to pack, how expensive, which sites to see. So I decided I'm going to make a video for you guys to help explain a little bit better than a message could. So yeah, stay tuned. So first point is the airline and prices. So we went with WOW Airlines. Got an email one day saying that there were $200 round trip flights to Iceland, which I wasn't planning on going to Iceland anytime really in my near future, but I saw a bunch of my friends were going, Tersha, Heisey, and I was like, oh, that would be a cool place to go. And for tickets that cheap, it was too good to pass up. Another thing with the airline, WOW Airlines, you have to pay for everything you want. So if you want luggage, you have to pay for luggage. If you want a carry-on, you gotta pay for a carry-on. If you want food on the plane, you gotta pay for it. The airline price is pretty much just the flight. Everything else is you have to pay, except for you can bring a purse or like a backpack to stick underneath the seat, but you can only do one of those. You have to pay for the second one. But yeah, our price was $200 round trip. I know it varies from time to time. I would say the time to go to get the best prices is in their off season, which would be the winter. So I would recommend going in the winter to get better prices. And obviously it's gonna be busier in the tourist season also, which would be the summer. So yeah, the airline and prices, go in the winter. Second point is lodging. It's pretty much the same as the US price-wise. I don't think it really varies from off-season to tourist season. The only thing that you would have to worry about is the availability. Obviously, it's going to be booked up in the tourist season a lot further ahead of time. So for doing a short sporadic trip like we did, we planned it in 3 weeks. We did it in the off-season, so there was more availability. When looking for lodging, make sure to look for all-inclusive breakfast or continental breakfast, because food is expensive in Iceland, and so whenever you can save, and especially just being able to eat where you're staying, it's amazing. And the thing with Iceland is that the water is so good. So bring a water bottle, fill it up with cold water in your tap in your hotel or whatever, and it's better than any bottled water here. So I would recommend doing that. And I've never had my hair feel better with their, like, the water that I use in the shower. Like, amazing. You don't have to worry that it's gonna harm your hair. It was so good. So that wraps up lodging for the most part. Number 3, food. So food is very expensive over in Iceland. It's due to they have to import a lot of the stuff, and obviously they can't really farm that often. I mean, only in the summers. So a lot of their food is imported, so which makes it more expensive. I would recommend bringing granola bars. They keep you pretty full until you go to your next meal. I would not recommend RX bars. We tried them, hated them, but if you want to be adventurous and try them, tell me if you like them, because I might have got the wrong kind and I just didn't really like it. But if you are staying for a while, like for a week's time, see, we only stayed for 3 days, so we just went out to eat every night because we didn't want to bring our stuff to each place we went. So if you're staying for a while in the same place, go to the grocery store, buy some food, cook yourself your meals. You're gonna save a lot of money that way. Obviously, go hit up some cool restaurants that you researched and stuff. But yeah, when you're over in Iceland, you have to try skyr. Skyr is the best yogurt I've ever tried in my life. Like, I literally started crying the first time I tasted it. It was that good. So skyr, I think, is only like native to Iceland, so I think you can buy it over here in the US, but I doubt that it's gonna taste the same. So try some skyr. So good. Fourth point is clothing. I've gotten these questions so often. we went in the winter, so obviously it was gonna be colder, like a lot colder. But surprisingly, it was about 32 to 36 degrees over in Iceland when we were over there, and it was like 12 degrees here in Ohio. So that was actually kind of neat to know that it was a little bit warmer, but it was a lot more windy. So make sure to bring a puffer jacket, something with down heat, and hat, one hat. You don't need more than one hat. I brought two. That was a mistake. The one was, I thought was red, but apparently it was orange. So one hat, stick to your favorite one. Bring mittens and a scarf. That's all you need. Make sure that the mittens are waterproof. Just because if it's snowing and you're touching snow, or you don't want to get your hands wet, that's just miserable. So that's pretty much it for, like, you know, like the warm outer layers. Make sure to buy boots that are waterproof, because you will probably be walking in water, snow, just sometime you're going to be walking in a bad condition. So waterproof boots. Make sure that they're insulated too, just to keep your feet warm. I got, I'm just gonna link below because I can't remember my brand. I'll link below the boot that I bought. And I know that Missy brought her hunter boots, but she wore her hunter boot socks with it. If she wouldn't have had those, she would have been, they're not insulated, so her feet would have been cold. But they did awesome being waterproof. So base layers or your clothes that you would be wearing. So I brought, for 2.5 days, 2 nights, brought 2 pairs of leggings, or wool leggings, I should say, wool. Regular leggings, the wind will go right through you. So make sure to get wool leggings. I wore the one on the way over. So 2 pairs of leggings, a pair of jeans, 2 turtlenecks, like a sweater like this, but it wasn't a turtleneck. That's what I wore as like my sweatshirt, or my over my turtlenecks when we would be going out and stuff. So I brought like 1 sweater, and then I brought a t-shirt, a swimsuit. Make sure to bring a swimsuit for the hot springs around the island. Wool socks. Wool socks keep your feet really nice and warm. I would recommend wool socks. Anything wool will keep you nice and warm. But we went in January, so, you know, just check the weather before you go, see what conditions it's gonna be. But that is pretty much all I packed for clothes-wise. 4. The little things that you need, I'm gonna go over this quick. A converter, because their outlets are different. A credit card. Iceland, everywhere they take credit cards, so that's really nice. But make sure to talk to your bank before you go overseas. Obviously, bring extra cash and bring an extra credit card if you have to. Bring both, just in case. You want a microfiber towel in case you stop in at random hot springs that you can get out. It dries fast and you can dry yourself off. Bring a camera if you have one. I love my iPhone, but I just thought my camera did a better job at taking the pictures. Sunglasses, because of how white it was when we went. You wanted to wear sunglasses because it was a bit bright. It wasn't that like the sun was just like, oh, I'm blinded. But yeah, so sunglasses is a good thing. And then what you want to get at the airport is a SIM card. There's a little grocery store in the Reykjavik airport, or the one that you fly into Iceland. There's a little grocery store with a electronic department. We just went back there, bought a SIM card for our phone. Then we had internet and cellular service over in Iceland. It does, I think, change your number sometimes. I think I might have pressed a button that said change my number instead of just keeping my old one. So I need to do better at reading. I just clicked okay, which could probably get me in trouble. Number 5. Okay, I'm gonna tell you guys about the sites and what we did, or where we went each day, where I'd recommend going. So if you're the type of person that likes tours, there's a ton of tours that you can go on with Big Bus. A lot of them you can meet in Reykjavik, which is the capital city, and then it will take you out to the, like, I think the Golden Circle-ish, but those are pretty much all-day things. Golden Circle is like, if you go from Reykjavik, it's about a 3-hour trip around the Golden Circle. Yeah, I mean, there are a bunch of tours. I'm not a tour person because I like my freedom to go where I want, when I want. With a tour, you know, you have a specific amount of time at this place, at this place, at this place. If you're bored at this place, you have to wait until it's time to leave, and then you might have wanted to stay longer at another place. So if you're that type of person, I do not recommend tours. Rent a car, do the research, look which route you want to go on the map, and plan your trip that way, because yeah, that was the best part of the trip. It was being able to go where we wanted to, when we wanted to. But also the downfall of renting a car and doing it ourselves is that you had to pay for your own gas. And the gas over there is, I believe, $7 or $8 a gallon. So it was so worth it though. I would not take a tour. Except if it was like a whale watching tour. We didn't have enough time to do any of those, like whale watching, horseback riding, or any of those. We just pretty much went for the geographical sites. So if we would have went to that, that would have been super cool. I would recommend going whale watching and horseback riding. My friends went, they loved it. I would recommend it. Research the places you want to go in Iceland beforehand and make your itinerary, okay? Or here's the island. Make your itinerary where you want to go and where you want to end up. Or if you go back, come back, you know what I mean, every day. But make sure you make an itinerary, because what you like might be different than what I like. But map out your itinerary first and then book your hotel. A few of the waterfalls that we saw were the Golfus waterfall, Seljalandsfoss, Skogafoss, and we did not get to see Brarfoss, and that was the one that we were all looking the most forward to. It was so sad. Brarfoss was, I'll insert a picture here, like, I wanted to go see that so bad, but we didn't know we had to hike there. So the road that takes you back is closed, it's no more. So you had to park in a parking lot and walk like 45 minutes to it. You had to hike to it. And when we got there, it was already 4:30. We didn't know that we had to hike 45 minutes. So it would have been too dark for us. So that was a real bummer. As you can tell, I moved to work. So I'll be filming here instead for the remainder of the video. So we discussed the waterfalls. Those were 4 waterfalls that I would recommend seeing above all else. Another thing to see is geyser. It is where a bunch of geysers shoot up into the air. That was really cool. There were a ton of them. It's in a pretty central location around the Golden Circle. It was a great stop. It's close to the Golffoss waterfall. And when we were there, it was snowing the entire time, and their snow was like really the sticky kind that was perfect for snowmen. Like, it was so fluffy. So we built a snowman. Insert picture here. Another cool place close to Golffoss waterfall and geyser is Efstadalur. Efstadalur is a farm, and it's located pretty much right beside the Brarfoss waterfall parking lot. So it's a farm, and it has a restaurant and the best ice cream. That's why we went there, because they said their ice cream was so good. So we walk in, go to the ice cream place, and they have windows that you can see into the barn where like the cows are and the calves. It was so cute. Super cool place. I would recommend going there. I mean, it's along your route, so why not stop in. Love that place. The cool thing about Iceland is all these places out in the country, that if they're a hotel or something like that, they will normally have a restaurant in there. There's normally not just restaurants by themselves. They'll be like included into, like, you know, a hotel or a farm or something like that. You don't see any restaurants just by themselves. So my favorite place of all was Friedheimer. This was a tomato greenhouse. It was the coolest place I've ever been to in my life. You walk in and it smells like a garden. It was so amazing, and it was like in the middle of like the woods area, and there are not a lot of trees in Iceland, so it was super cool, super quaint. I'll insert a video about this place to describe how it was, and then you can see how cool it was. So what are we thinking about this place?
Amazing. It's so cool.
It is the coolest place I've ever been to in my life. These are all tomato plants. They have bumblebees that are flying around, and this place is like heated. It feels kind of like a semi-sauna. It's heated by the geyser. That's 200 meter or kilometers away. I forget which one. And this water is water from glacier and rivers around. Is it good?
It's amazing.
And so they use the same water to water the tomatoes, because tomatoes are mostly water. So if you have good water watering them, that means they'll be good tomatoes. So it's a sweet place. Love this place. Love their tomato soup and their bread and their cucumber salad spread to put on your bread. Loved, love, love this place. And the next place is Reykjavik Beach, which I probably did not pronounce that right again, as I'm not pronouncing a lot of these correct, but this was like the black sand beach. So like the sand was black and it was so soft. You would never think that it was this soft. That place was super cool. There were cliffs, there were big rocks sticking out of the ocean. Super cool. The waves were huge. I mean, there were people like getting soaked, because I don't think they knew how, like, you know, tides work, you know, that they go out and then they come back. But it was such a cool spot. It's close to Vik. I would recommend going there. We chilled in the little cafe for a while. There were big windows that we could see out. It was so beautiful. Loved Reykjavik Beach. Loved it. I'm gonna talk about one of the waterfalls that stuck out to us the most, Skogafoss. That was probably our favorite waterfall, other than if we would have seen Brarfoss, just because there were like 10,000 steps that you got to walk up to the top of the waterfall, and you can go behind the waterfall. I mean, on the, you know, ground level, you can go behind it, but since it was winter, you weren't allowed to do that, so that really stunk. But the stairs, be prepared at Skogafoss to walk some steps. Get those thighs burning. It was great. So a thing that you probably won't see on other YouTube videos is the moss fields. We were not planning on going to the moss fields, but we were driving down the one road and there's just miles and miles of moss in these fields. It was the greatest thing. We were like, some of it was fenced around, but then some of it wasn't, and so as soon as we didn't see the fence, we pulled over into the parking lot and we spent, I promise, like probably like 30 to 45 minutes there, just like hopping around from moss field to moss field, or like moss, and you could run on it. Your shoes were gripped. It was great. But thinking about it, it probably was illegal, and I hope I don't get arrested for posting this YouTube video. Glacier Lagoon was so beautiful. It's also 5 hours away from the airport, and we did this our first day that we were there, so we were traveling all day. But Glacier Lagoon, we packed in our first day. Took us about from 7 o'clock to 4:30 in the afternoon to get there, because we stopped, you know, along the way and stuff. So it was like the sun was going down. It was still bright enough that you could see everything, but that was probably the perfect time that I would say to get to Glacier Lagoon, is when it was dusk, because you just like looked over this like peaceful like river, lake, I don't know, and then there was like glacier and it was cold. I literally could have just like started crying because it was so serene and so peaceful. A cool tourist attraction that is not a geographical, like environmental thing is the Skaholt Church. It was, all of the little reading things were in a different language, so we didn't get to really completely know what it was all about, but I think that they had like housing for like the school children or something, because there was like a little village. I don't know if they were like getting persecuted or something at this church. There was a tunnel underneath the church that we went to. It was super cool. Go there. Maybe you can help me in knowing what the church was actually about. So that'd be awesome. But funny story, or not so funny, I don't know, but it's a good one. So we went to this Skahult church on a Sunday, took pics, whatever, did our stuff, and then we're like, oh, let's go inside. There's like one car in the parking lot, so we were like, oh, that's the person that works in the lobby. Like, no big deal. So walked up the steps into the little lobby. No one was there. We were like, oh, okay, whatever. The doors to the sanctuary were closed. And we're like, let's go in and take pictures. I'm sure that there's some sweet stained glass and stuff. So I swing open the door. All of a sudden, there's 20 people turned around and looked at me and my friend and my cousin. And we're all just like, huh. There's the priest up on stage. There's two people like reciting something. And me, the first one in the door, I'm like thinking, is it more respectful to leave or more respectful to sit down? And knowing me, you know what I did? Sat right in that back row and we did church. Yep, we could not understand one word that they said. They didn't speak any English, some kind of Icelandic language. And they would like stand up, sit down, recite, sing, da da da. And so as soon as we stood up for prayer, it was a great experience, cool to see how they did it. But as soon as they did prayer, we just left right after prayer. And then obviously we had to walk past the window of the sanctuary. Another cool place is the Secret Lagoon. We did not get to go to the Secret Lagoon. We got to our hotel too late in the evening, which we actually booked our hotel that night for the Secret Lagoon because we wanted to go to the Secret Lagoon, which was in Flúðir. So we stayed at the guest house Flúðir. And you guys have to make sure that you book the guest house Flúðir at least one time on your trip. That was our favorite place. Super sweet host. Like the owner was super sweet. They had continental breakfast, great breakfast, which they had skyr, my favorite. It was well worth it, and it's right on the Golden Circle there in Flúðir, and they give you a 30% off of the Secret Lagoon if you stay there. So check in there, go over to the Secret Lagoon. It's a mile down the road. Do it. We wish we could have, but we didn't have time. We were gonna go to the Blue Lagoon anyways. Yeah, Secret Lagoon's another good one. And then we stayed in Reykjavik last, like the city of Reykjavik. So we stayed in an Airbnb, which I wasn't like the biggest fan of how they described how to get to our Airbnb in Reykjavik. So Reykjavik, the city, is really, really cool, but the streets are also really tiny one ways most of the time. And the sidewalks like right beside. And so you're driving it, which I'm fine driving in it, but trying to look for your Airbnb in like this city, and it's normally on the backside of like maybe a restaurant or something. I felt like our Airbnb lady did not describe where our Airbnb was well enough. And so I was stressing out because I mean, I normally don't stress out, but Missy and Stephanie can fend that I was a bit stressed. Anyways, the cool thing about Airbnb, they have the phone number. I called the lady, we got it figured out. We got to our Airbnb. So the Airbnb we stayed at was really interesting because it was a guest house style. So like the lobby, or not the lobby, but the main area, you know, like the living room, kitchen, you shared with all the other guests, and then like you had your own individual rooms, and you shared the bathrooms too. And so it was cool, but the only thing that, you know, you don't expect is like if you're other people that are staying in your Airbnb with you, they might cook something that doesn't smell the greatest. And that's what our people did. I don't know what they were making, but that smell was just, did not smell good. Another thing about Reykjavik, it's super quaint, super quiet actually. Like I felt like it was super quiet, super chill. Another cool place was Lemon. It's like a juice bar. They had a bunch of like sandwiches, smoothies, juices, coffee. We had that the morning before we left to the airport. That was a really cool place. I would recommend going there. A cool site in Reykjavik is Hallgrímskirkja. It's a huge cathedral. I will insert the picture here. It's gigantic. And we got to be there right at 9 o'clock in the morning when they rang the bell. That was super cool. You can go inside. We didn't have enough time to go inside. I'd recommend going there. And the last place I'm gonna tell you is the Blue Lagoon. The Blue Lagoon, it's hyped up, but this is one place that you can hype it up as much as you want and it still does not, it just exceeds your expectations. Like it's so cool. So we went the morning before our flight went out because Blue Lagoon is only 20 minutes away from the airport, which is cool, but it is 40 to 45 minutes away from Reykjavik. So we went to the Blue Lagoon the morning before we left for our flight, you know, just to detox, relax, and we just spent the whole morning until we had to leave for the airport there. We got the comfort package, which you got a face mask and a towel and I forget, and a free drink. And that's like the lowest one that you can get. But I mean, I would recommend getting the premium one just because you get free reservations at the restaurant, like there at Blue Lagoon. And we went to the we went to that restaurant anyways, so I don't know why we didn't just get the premium one, because you got a bathrobe and sandal things with that. But comfort, it was like $30 cheaper. It will get you the job done. Like, I mean, it was, you just chilled in the blue, like it was 30 degrees outside. And this hot spring, like this Blue Lagoon was like 100 degrees and like, oh, it was just so amazing because you had to take a shower first before you went into the Blue Lagoon and you had to put conditioner in your hair. You definitely put conditioner in your hair because the sulfur in the Blue Lagoon will dry out your hair and you'll regret doing that. So just put conditioner. There's a bunch of conditioner in the shower that they have for you, and they have body wash in the shower for you. So you don't need to bring any of those. Bring a waterproof case for your phone or your camera. We did not have one of those. So we were super paranoid about getting the camera wet. And since it was so cold outside compared to how hot and steamy the Blue Lagoon was, our lens tended to fog up. So just a precaution there, but waterproof case, do not forget. It will make that you don't have to stress out as much about your camera. The time that I would recommend going, a lot of the flights that come in from the US will come into Reykjavik at like early in the morning. Well, from Pittsburgh it did. If you want to come to the Blue Lagoon when you get to Iceland, that's awesome, but I would recommend going at 10 a.m. in the morning because that's the first available slot, and a lot of people are not going to be there right away. So if you're there at 10 a.m., you're the first one there. So you have the Blue Lagoon pretty much to yourself and maybe 50 others. 50 others, that sounds like a lot, but trust me, there were more by like 11:30, a lot more. So I would say go early, do your thing. Lava, the restaurant in the Blue Lagoon, it might be hyped up, but their food was so good. I would recommend going there too. Well, I hope that this video helped you guys out. If you have any other questions that I did not cover, just message me, leave a comment below. Yeah, so I hope that you have fun in Iceland when you go, and I'd recommend whoever's not planning, go for it. It's a 5.5 hour direct flight from Pittsburgh to Reykjavik. I'd recommend it. It's a trip of a lifetime, and you can do it in a long weekend like we did. So yeah, safe travels everyone. See ya.